Welcome to LegacyCast, your source for hearing from top influencers, industry experts, and successful business owners who are telling their unique story about life, values, goals, business strategies, and the various causes they are so passionate about. Future generations will come to be impacted by what is happening today, whether positive or negative, and our mission is to focus on what is going to affect change for the better. Hosted each weekday by James Snow, a former U.S. Army combat medic, now founder and principal advisor of James Advisors Group, a full-service financial planning firm in North Texas. This is LegacyCast. Welcome, LegacyCast listeners. This is your host, James Snow, coming to you from North Texas, and I have with me today very good contact and friend, Natalie Oliverio. Sorry, I didn't mean to butcher your name there. But with Natalie, she is someone that a lot of veterans here throughout the U.S. need to be in contact with, because she is such a resource for you guys that are going through transition and so forth. So without I'll let Natalie kind of go into that. I'd like to welcome you to the program.
Thanks so much, James. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here with you this morning.
So Natalie, you can maybe give a little quick lowdown as far as what your organization does for vets.
Absolutely. So I am the founder of Military Talent Partners. We offer free mentorship and coaching to transitioning service members, veterans, military spouses, and Gold Star family members. And then we partner with businesses all over the U.S., small, medium, and large size companies who want to actually go and hire military service members, veterans, and spouses.
Yeah, and that's really important for the people that are transitioning, from service onto, coming back to the world and coming back into, trying to get into the workplace, because, a lot of times, those resources are not necessarily, right in front of you. You don't know where to look for. And so, you fill in a nice niche, for the guys that are coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. We help employers really stay true to their promise to hire more military talent by empowering their recruitment strategy, by helping them actually get in touch with the absolute right talent. Because not every person or every veteran or every spouse is right for every opportunity. So making that identification and connection is such a big piece of the puzzle.
It is. And, unfortunately, so many in the civilian population don't understand, the things that the service members go through and how all that translates into, the military to the civilian world experience and how to translate those skills over. And so, it's good that there's someone there that can kind of help, thread the needle, so to speak.
Absolutely.
So when you're thinking about legacy, though, Natalie, what comes to mind on a personal level with what you're doing, and how that plays into your thoughts on legacy?
The biggest thing that keeps is feeling that self-satisfaction and that happiness from empowering the potential of others, specifically others being our military and veteran community, having the ability to uplift them, to instill confidence, and to empower them to utilize their full potential and to help connect them to opportunities that can change their life is a really powerful thing. So to be a part of somebody's story or their journey or their transition is an honor. And that's definitely how I want to be remembered and the legacy that I want to leave behind.
Yeah, it's huge, because you're touching on several things that we'll talk a little bit more about in detail as we go through the program. But that whole transition thing is such a big hurdle for a lot of vets. It's coming back coming back to the civilian world, for myself, it was difficult because I didn't have that camaraderie that I was used to. I didn't have the friendships and so forth that I had in the military, and so coming back to the civilian world, it was just different. Things didn't fit the same way. Things didn't look the same. When I came back, it was just unusual for me. So I'm sure a lot of vets are the same way.
They absolutely are. It's really such a huge move coming from one way of life or lifestyle to a completely different lifestyle. And there's a lot of little intricacies in between, not just in your job title, your MOS, or the rate, but in everything that comes along with it that makes that transition, that initial transition, such a challenge.
Do you feel it's important that everyone actively considers what they're doing on a day-to-day basis that's going to impact what their long-term legacy looks like?
I do. I think that really starts with your personal why and your professional goal blend together to create your purpose.
I think you cut out there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you still hear me?
I can now. Yes.
Oh, okay, great. I was saying that I think that's all a part of your why and your professional goals and your purpose. Those all culminate to really become your legacy. So doing that forward thinking before you transition or even in your career and throughout it to make sure that your purpose is aligned with what you're doing is aligned with your purpose, I think that will help protect your legacy and keep it to what you want to make sure you leave behind.
And I like that you mentioned, the doing it, as you're going along. So many people, I know, when I was serving, I wasn't thinking about, what my legacy was when I was in the military, but people really need to actively think about that. What are they going to do after, and how's that going to play in, and what are they doing, along the way, and to make sure that that end game is still being strategized for, while doing the military career, and then when they leave that, then it makes the transition a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I think really understanding what makes you happy, what you're good at, and how you want to spend the days of your next career all make an impact on what you do next.
Very true. So how do your views on legacy and your own plans for a legacy affect what you do with your business?
I started this business because I wasn't able to utilize my full potential as a corporate recruiter working for any one specific company. So, you know, doing what I believe to be right and impactful and powerful for bettering the lives of others and empowering others to be their best. That really fulfills the legacy that I want to leave behind, because with that, you've got hundreds, sometimes thousands of people connected to the right opportunity because you mentored them or you coached them or you introduced them to that opportunity that shifted everything from them for them moving forward.
That's very true. And mentorship is such a huge advantage for people on so many different levels. As a CEO and entrepreneur, what would be maybe a couple things that, as you have been growing your business, that still keep you up at night?
There's so many things to do and never enough time. It's hard to prioritize, when there's just so much on your plate. In a startup phase as an entrepreneur, it's the grittiest, scrappiest time of your career for sure. And also the first time that everything's really on you. So I think there's a million little things that probably keep me up at night that, it's like your brain never really shuts off because there's so much to do, so much ground to cover, and so many great ideas that are all trickling in at the same time or different times. And it's just a lot to juggle. So staying focused on your mission is really the only way to navigate that, and understanding what your bandwidth is and how to best utilize it. Grant Cardone is someone that I follow, and he says that if there's white space on your calendar, that's when the devil seeps in. Because if you're idle, if your mind becomes idle, you got stuff to worry about. But if you're focused and you're full and you're doing what you need to do, then you're not even taking your eye off the prize.
Right. That's good stuff there. So do you believe that it's important that people create not only the business plan part of strategy, but other key strategies like financial strategies and so forth for themselves and their business?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that's a critical factor. You have to be able to understand how you're going to make money, not just what problem does your business solve, but how are you going to get paid for it? What kind of payment makes sense? And what's your value proposition and the cost model, and how do those two intersect? So absolutely, the financial piece is a critical part of it.
Yeah, I see so many people, not necessarily the financial piece, but, just the business plan in general. It's, trying to go in and, it seems like a lot of veterans are doing this is, kind of go willy-nilly style and, start the business without having that and then sort of catch up later.
I'm sorry, I think I missed the last part of what you said.
Oh, I was just saying it seems like a lot of veteran entrepreneurs and maybe even civilian ones just think that they can go willy-nilly and start a business without all of that planning ahead of time.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's easy to become inspired by an idea and kind of run with it. And I think that more often than not, people aren't stopping to think about what problem does your business solve. Not just is it a good idea, but why is it a good idea? And how does it solve that problem? And why is it better than everybody else's idea that's also trying to solve that same problem? What makes you different? How are you different?
Sure.
I think those things are foundation blocks to building any new business that sometimes get overlooked.
That's true. And the way I like to look at it is having those strategies ahead of time is kind of like having a map when you're going on vacation, to where you know where you're starting and you know where you want to end up, and the map helps get you there. And if you don't have those things, then you're not going to know where the detours are and the different obstacles that you have to overcome. So it helps kind of give you a heads up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And certainly a measuring point. It gives you a benchmark as well. What do you think the most common reason is that entrepreneurs are failing or giving up?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I don't know. That's a tough question to answer. I would say that entrepreneurship is definitely not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. It is a roller coaster. There are really, really great days, and there are really, really tough days. And so you have to be able to make it through your absolute worst moment and be able to thrive and, keep that fresh perspective that there's nowhere to go but up. And you have to be able to solve your own problems. Sometimes that's the hardest thing because as an entrepreneur, it's really all on you to make everything happen, or your partner or your team. But in the long run, it's really you. So you have to be so committed and so relentless about your business, fanatical even, that you believe in it with everything that you are, and you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it work. And I think that more often than not, it comes down to people not being willing to do whatever it takes, because either it becomes too difficult or too uncomfortable, or it's just not working anymore.
There's some valid points. So, are there during the time that you were, creating your business and growing it, are there some roadblocks and resources that you've come across that you would, maybe want to mention and open up to people, warn them against the roadblocks, and then, you know, highlight the resources that helped you?
Roadblocks are, I would say, it's kind of tough to understand where to go to get started. Even navigating, through the SBA and IRS.gov, there are certain things there that can be tricky, and understanding, does my business need to be certified? Do I need to be registered as any certain type? Those things are kind of tough. And I think, Google is probably the best resource there to figure out what to rely on as far as your first step. But for veterans and military spouses, Bunger Labs offers a lot of really incredible resources for veteran entrepreneurs or mil-spouse entrepreneurs. And for me, living in an area where the Launch Lab or Veterans in Residence is not available, they have a Launch Lab online. And I actually did the second cohort, and I really enjoyed it. And for me, it was really well timed because it kind of hand in hand coincided with the actual full-time start of my own business. So it acts as a resource guide with thought-provoking discussions and a collaborative Facebook group and a dashboard full of content to drive your thought process on becoming a 0 to 1 stage entrepreneur. So for any vet or mil spouse looking to start their own business, Bunker Labs is definitely a great place to check out all the resources that they have available. And that's free, which is pretty cool.
Yep. Yep. Pretty good group. So, as far as personal values and belief systems, how do those play into your business, and how would you advise someone else to either incorporate them into their business or avoid that?
I think, excuse me, I think that you have to stay true to what you believe, and your business has to be built upon that. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to fit into a model that doesn't fit you
Right.
and trying to serve a customer without anything that has to do with what you want to accomplish. I think that would get really tricky. So, staying true to what you believe and building your business on top of that is critical.
It is, and the way I kind of look at it is, you really shouldn't, when you're on the clock, off the clock, there shouldn't be a difference, between what you get one time or the other time. So the things that are important to you on a deep level, even spiritual, emotional, intellectual, all those things should be injected into the business, and that creates the uniqueness of the business.
That's right.
Is there something that earlier in your life you wish you had done that you did not do, or would have done differently?
What was that?
Is there something that you wish you'd have done differently earlier in life, or kind of one of those look back and regret things?
No, I say no because I'm where I am today because of everything that's happened in my life, and everything that I've experienced and been through has led me to this point. And I truly believe that everything happens for a reason.
That's awesome. So, when you were building your business and your own transition story, what kind of hurdles did you have to overcome?
And building my business, I
Uh-huh.
think that I don't know if it's a hurdle, but I think that what what's made my young business as successful as it is having real world experience for a decade prior to starting it, and having been a veteran myself, uh, as well as really getting such a good reputation in the space and credibility in the market. based on the work that I've done and the network that I have all culminated to really empower my business plan, and is something that I'm so grateful for, because without those things, without my network, without that credibility, I don't know if it would be as successful. And I know a lot of other people have attempted to do this in the recruitment space and have failed and have not been successful. And that's really scary. But I think being in it for the right reason, which is the empowerment of others and believing in other people, is what makes all the difference. And not just saying it, but having other people say it about you is what makes it so real.
And so, as far as your transition from the military, what was that? What was that like? Can you kind of walk us through that?
It was really rough. I thought I had everything figured out. I was going to go to WVU, get my degree, and work in journalism forever. And I got to WVU, and they told me that I needed to pick something else because I had already been a journalist and they had nothing to teach me. So really, I started over from scratch into human resources. And so I also just felt like a stranger amongst people in my own hometown, because I had left for 4 years to serve while everybody else was kind of doing their own thing. So I came back, and it's like there was this big gap, and we didn't have the same things in common anymore, or people didn't really know what to talk about with me. And as far as my classmates, I was so much older than them, but not old enough to be like a non-traditional student. It was just old enough to be awkward, right? So it was really tough, and I had a lot of struggle with that. And even after I graduated and started working in human resources, everyone above me was so much younger and so much less experienced at life, and I had a really hard time with that. It didn't make sense to me, and I felt like, I felt like I had been held back a few grades in school, and that maybe my military service didn't really count for anything, and I was just kind of level set to a few years back in progress.
So was all that kind of obvious how to overcome that, or did you stumble upon the answers to those?
No, I think it took me several years to really overcome it, and to stop feeling that way, and to understand that what I had done did count for something, and it was a huge piece of what had made me who I am, and how to be okay with that. So, more and more resources became available. Mentorship was a new thing that I hadn't even really considered before. And it really definitely made a lifelong impact.
Now, with your business and building it and getting it off the ground, how did you get started with that? And then maybe talk us through that process.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to describe it to you. How I built my business and how I got it off the ground. My business was really built organically. As a recruiter for 10 years, this is something that's second nature to me, but I really wanted to do it in the military space. And for every employer that I worked for, I could just never make that happen. They either didn't, value veteran or mil-spouse hiring initiatives, or they just didn't have the interest in starting it up. And I really wanted to make that happen. So I leveraged my relationships and network and made that happen. And I started with one client. Then 90 days later, we had 9 clients, and we're continuing with new clients every single month. And clients are our partner companies that we work with to recruit mil spouses and veterans into. And the candidates that we work with, these were people that I was already working with and talking to every single day. And, our network grows every single day too, still, thank God, because our network, it means so much to us. So really, it was a very organic thing. I also had realized really quickly with our first client, if I was going to be serious about this business, I wasn't going to be able to do it part-time. I was going to have to jump in feet first into the deep end and just make it happen. So I left my salary job behind and opened up shop full-time as an entrepreneur and just made it work.
Well, yeah, it's pretty bold, taking the big leap, just jumping in and
Definitely.
starting it like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, was there a particular moment in time that you can look back to that you would say was the compelling turning point that made you decide to do what you're doing now? Sort of an aha moment.
I think it was just a culmination of disappointment, not being able to achieve or accomplish things that were really important to me time and time again. And I always felt like I was in the wrong spot. Like what I was doing wasn't the absolute right fit, and I wasn't truly fulfilled. And all of these things told me that it was time to do it on my own.
Yeah, and you're looking for that indicator too. So that's important. Is there a profession other than what you're doing that you maybe would want to dabble in?
I don't think so. This is where I'm meant to be.
Good answer. So as far as we'll talk about some personal qualities here. What is your greatest character strength?
My positive mindset.
Oh, I love it. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I'm always positive, no matter what, no matter on the darkest, most difficult day, there's always a way through it. It will always get better. And really, there is nothing that can truly get me down.
That's very good. Very, very good outlook. On the flip side of that, what would you say would be your greatest weakness then?
My greatest weakness, I take too much on. So I'm in the practice of learning to gracefully say no to things
Mm.
that don't support the life that I'm trying to create. Because I think and I want to believe that I can do anything and everything, and sometimes that gets in the way.
Yeah, I suffer from the shiny object syndrome. Those little squirrels. As I'm doing my business, other things will distract me. So,
Sure.
is there a particular place you go to as far as with your brainstorming to get ideas? Maybe taking walks or go out in nature, a certain room in the house. Is there something like that?
No, not really. I think my brain's always going and always thinking of new things, and it doesn't really wait for the right opportunity.
So if you're to describe for someone that was just starting a business and maybe they wanted to model their business after what you're doing, how would you describe what your business looks like at a very high level?
I would say that my business is all about relationships and
Mm-hmm.
connecting the right ones. And so I think for anyone who wants to do what we do, I think it's important to have that experience in the space before you even attempt it, because it's a brutal, brutal industry, and one that's been misused and untrusted by so many people. So to repair that image and be the difference is not easy. And without that extreme experience and reputation, it's really impossible to accomplish it.
That's very true. Now, is there something that most people that surround you that they don't know about you? Kind of a trivia thing.
I don't think so.
Pretty transparent with everybody.
I think so.
Okay. So if you can tell me a little bit about how you would want to contact people or have people contact you, reaching out and so forth. What are the best methods to reach out and touch base with you and be able to take advantage of the services that you offer?
Sure. Anyone can reach out to us anytime at militarytalentpartners.com. You can connect with us there, connect with us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email me directly, Natalie at militarytalentpartners.com. And we work with everyone. We work with everyone at every level. We meet them where they are. So whatever they're looking for, we'll be able to address. And if we can't, we're going to put them in touch with someone who can.
Very good. So, for all those transitioning military people and military spouses, this is a good resource for you. So reach out to Natalie and, be able to get you squared away and get you to the next level. And Natalie, I thank you for taking time to be with us today on the program. And, I look forward to being able to see all the things that are going on with your business and as it grows and, the blossoming successes coming.
Thank you so much, James. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your time and for allowing me to talk about my business and Military Talent Partners and all that comes with it.
Well, I appreciate it. And it's been an honor to have you on the program. And I will see you around the bend, my friend.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Legacy Cast. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to come back next time as we speak with more top influencers, industry experts, and business owners from around the world.